Pulsars, or pulsing stars. I don't think they're stars at all, obviously. The discovery of them was made on November 28th, 1967 by Jocelyn Bell Burnell and Anthony Hewish. There was a lot of controversy with that, because I think it's Hewish that received the Nobel Prize for it, and Jocelyn Bell Burnell, who actually discovered it, there was no mention made of her at all. So I don't know, maybe it has to do with sexism, not too sure. Don't want to make any assumptions on that. But anyways, I'm going to read this out to you and explain a little things the way I see it. They observed pulses separated by 1.33 seconds that originated from the same location in the sky and kept to sidereal time. In looking for explanations for the pulses, the short period of the pulses eliminated most astrophysical sources of radiation, such as stars, and since the pulses followed sidereal time, it could not be man-made radio frequency interference. When observations with another telescope confirmed the emission and eliminated any sort of instrumental effects. At this point, Burnell notes of herself and Hewish that we did not really believe that we had picked up signals from another civilization, but obviously the idea crossed our minds and we had no proof that it was an entirely natural radio emission. It was an interesting problem. If one thinks one may have detected life elsewhere in the universe, how does one announce the results responsibly? Even though they nicknamed the signal LGM-1 for Little Green Men, a playful name for intelligent beings of extraterrestrial origin. It was not until a second pulsating source was discovered in a different part of the sky that LGM hypothesis was entirely abandoned. Their pulsar was later dubbed CP1919, and it is known by a number of designators including PSR 1919 plus 21 and such. Although CP1919 emits in radio wavelengths, pulsars have subsequently been found to emit invisible light, X-ray, and/or gamma-ray wavelengths. The word pulsar is a contraction of pulsating star and first appeared in print in 1968. Quote, an entirely novel kind of star came to light on August 6th last year and was referred to by astronomers as LGM, Little Green Men. Now it is thought to be a novel type between a white dwarf and a neutron star. The name pulsar is likely to be given to it. Dr. A. Hewish told me yesterday, I am sure that today every radio telescope is looking at the pulsars. End quote. Now, one of the major issues I have with their idea that somehow it's a spinning neutron star or whatever is that they assumed it to be a spinning neutron star or something that spins because of the idea of it pulsing. But we'll see here that that hypothesis is very faulty. And the reason why I'm saying this is because of their formation. It says here, the events leading to the formation of a pulsar begin when the core of a massive star is compressed during a supernova, which collapses into a neutron star. The neutron star retains most of its angular momentum, and since it has only a tiny fraction of its progenitor's radius, and therefore its moment of inertia is sharply reduced, it is formed with a very high rotation speed. Now, the people who thought this up, they were very short-sighted because they forgot one very important part to this. If a supernova is an explosion of a star, that means the majority of the star's mass is lost. And anybody who understands how angular momentum works, obviously they have problems with angular momentum because they think the nebular disk theory is reasonable, which is completely false. If you have a large object which ejects the majority of its mass, any sort of angular momentum which would be added by compressing that mass would already be lost. Meaning you can't speed anything up if it loses its mass. If the mass is lost, there's nothing to be compressed. Thus, there's nothing to cause its moment of inertia to increase considerably. Meaning, if it does, it doesn't do that at all. there's something else that bursts pulsars. Personally, I think what it is along the lines of what Donald Scott was saying in Electric Universe, but I would ignore the majority of Electric Universe's stuff, but I would pay attention to Donald Scott's stuff. I think he has some good points to be made. Obviously, there are a lot of things that might be incorrect, but I think a pulsar mostly resembles a relaxation oscillator. I don't know if you can read that. Relaxation oscillator. It's an electrical phenomenon. Now I have to look up more concerning electrical phenomenon inside the universe, but I think it's really cool because in this physics book I'm learning a lot about AC current, DC current, and today I'm going to go over chapter 16 entitled Semiconductors. It's going to be a lot of new information in here for me. Obviously I plan to learn a lot out of this book, but you know, about impedance, vector representation of impedance, capacitance, all this good stuff. And I'm going to actually try to explain pulsars in terms of electrical circuits. And now I know there's a lot of information out there concerning it, and there's also a paper that Donald Scott had referred to about, I think, 19 properties of pulsars, something like that. I have to look at that as well, but I don't think I'm ready to try to really decipher that paper and understand what they were talking about. And when I get a hold of that paper, I'll go ahead and share it with my audience. But long story short, the entire pulsar phenomenon is, quite frankly, misrepresented and misinterpreted, and it's there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But basically their mechanisms hold the key to understanding how a galaxy is born. I think they are probably more than likely galactic seeds, meaning they're embryonic galaxies. Think in terms of a sequoia or a red giant tree, okay? How large is a seed to one of those objects? It's like that. Yet they grow to many millions of that size. They grow to many magnitudes beyond that size. I think that's the same mechanism behind pulsars. As well, the main reasoning for me thinking that this interpretation for pulsars being incorrect is the fact that stars don't explode internally. They are very stable plasmatic objects which shrink over time and differentiate their interiors. The entire exploding star line of thought needs to be replaced, because it's very poor reasoning and doesn't accurately represent reality. But anyways, hopefully this helps people. Today is June 30th, 2015.